I honestly don't know why people keep doing this in their videos, but still I'm gonna follow it. Guess what? The Galaxy S9 is here. This is like the most expensive thing I've ever purchased next to that workstation PC behind me, and I've been using the S9 for the past 29 days to be exact, which is like almost a month I suppose. And this video is going to be the in-depth complete review video of the Galaxy S9. You would have already seen a lot of Galaxy S9 review videos on YouTube, and this video is gonna be pretty much same when compared to all those existing review videos. Different guy, different channel, different accent, but the things are gonna be the same. So if you're still interested, then stay back and watch the video for a whole new level of experience. I'm just kidding, stay back and watch the video. If there's one company who did the whole edge-to-edge bezel-less thing the best, then with no doubt it's Samsung. So it's time to judge the design and the build quality of the Samsung Galaxy S9. The Samsung Galaxy S flagships are always known for its remarkable design and build, and the S9 belongs to the same league. The design resembles the old guy, the S8, but with a few changes like the repositioned fingerprint sensor and the glass body in the back. In the world filled with notches, this one definitely stands out with a clean and slick design, and there is no denying that fact. The phone looks so tiny in spite of the 5.8 inches display. Samsung proves that it's the true pro when it comes to bezel-less smartphone design and build. The edges of the display melts down and blends in perfectly, making it the most crispiest edge-to-edge smartphone when compared to all out there. Though the tiny form factor and the curved edges make the S9 look dope, it also is a suicidal risk factor. The phone is slippery AF, and with the glass back, a drop from even a short point could leave the whole back shattered. The display is protected by the Gorilla Glass 5, but the back is all left open and vulnerable. So always have a firm hand while holding the S9. The glass back doesn't stop with a single downside. It is a black hole for fingerprint and smudges. The back is all shiny and glamorous, but when looked deeply in direct light, I could find a few scratches on the back, and I never really placed the phone on any rough surfaces in my past 1 month usage. The good thing is that Samsung listened to all the user feedback last year, and they have now put the fingerprint scanner in the right position exactly beneath the camera. The S9 is not a big device, so the reachability is not that tedious. Even if you have small hands, all the buttons would be easily reachable. Talking about the build quality, the S9 holds the IP68 rating, which means it is completely dustproof, and it is also water resistant. You can dip it in 1.5 meters deep normal water for like 30 minutes without literally killing the S9 in the process. There is nothing to complain about the design, and the build is also perfect to the core. And honest note, this is the most photogenic phone I've ever seen. Next to the design, the one thing which Samsung does the best is the display. Fun fact, Samsung is the one who makes those super crystal AMOLED displays for the iPhone X too, and that clearly proves Samsung's strength in the display game. So it's time to talk about the Super AMOLED display. The S9 holds a 5.8 inches Super AMOLED display with a maximum resolution of 1440 into 2960 pixels, which is WQHD+. All along, it's Samsung who introduced this whole world to the infinite display concept. It supports 3 display resolution, the HD+, which is the lowest one, then the QHD, which is the optimal one, and the maximum one, which is WQHD+. Setting the maximum resolution might make the colors and everything pop out of the display, but it takes a huge bite out of the battery life. The display is like absolute beauty with no flaws at all. The colors are perfectly balanced and saturated, and there is no contrast shift or color transformation when tilting the mobile or anything. The auto brightness mode works with no delays, and the ultra bright display makes it perfectly suitable for daylight visibility. A few weeks back, some of the tech blogs were posting about a touchscreen related issue with the S9, and fortunately, I haven't faced any such issues. The capacitive touch panel is good to use. I'm too much addicted to the Super AMOLED display, and I get too excited when it comes to talking about the display, so I can go on talking about it, but I know you don't have that kind of time, so I'm gonna put a pause here and move on to the next section, that is the overall specifications and the performance of the S9. The Indian variant of the S9 is powered by the Exynos 9810 octa-core processor and not the Snapdragon 845. The performance of this one is up to the mark. For benchmark lovers, here is the Geekbench score of the Galaxy S9. The S9 holds 4 gigs of RAM, which is same as that of last year's S8. Multitasking is clearly on point with no lags or anything. Even if more than 10 to 15 apps are running in the background, the S9 doesn't even hesitate for a bit to pull a new app to the front. When running intense tasks, the phone does overheat a bit, especially when working on with the data and GPS turned on. But the overheating is not that intense, which makes it negligible. A flagship is expected to shatter all the boundaries when it comes to overall performance, and the S9 does it like a boss. Even when the apps were opened in multi-window mode, there were no performance-related issues. Samsung introduced the multi-window mode ages ago, even before it was introduced in stock Android, and it does it the best. I was surprised to find out that even when multiple apps were opened in multiple windows and simultaneously, the whole experience was smooth. This is not a dedicated gaming phone, but mobile gaming is also a thing now. The S9 performs great with games without frame drops or stutters or lags. I'm not much of a mobile gamer, but I played a few games like Asphalt 8 and Shadow Fight, which are like intense 3D games, and I had a smooth and lagless gaming experience. The S9 comes in 3 memory variants. The one I have here is the 64GB one. It supports memory expansion using an external SD card up to 400GB, so I stuck with the 64GB variant, which is more than enough for me. Final note, Samsung did a wonderful job in managing the whole thing with what the device actually has. So a big plus for overall performance. So it's time to switch the spotlight to the multimedia section. Well, technically the camera also comes under the multimedia section, but let's talk about the speakers first. If you had seen my previous videos, then I would have repeated one constant thing when talking about speakers, and that is nothing but front-facing stereo speakers. And Samsung fulfilled half my wish by embedding dual speakers, one at the bottom and the other beneath the earpiece in the front. The stereo speaker sounds perfect like a full-fledged multimedia speaker. The sound emerging out of the stereo speakers fills a whole hall without any distortions. It supports Dolby Atmos surround sound technology, and turning that on makes the speakers sound even better with proper equalization and amplification. The speakers not just performs good for music but also sounds great for vocals and all kinds of audio. If the AKG speakers are not enough for you, then you get a sweet pair of AKG headphones, which sounds amazing. It's really hard to find a flagship with a 3.5mm audio jack these days, but the Galaxy S9 retains it. So you have other headphone options even if you are not okay with the AKG ones. The S9 has a pair of microphones, one at the top and the other near the speaker. Those 2 microphones does what it was made for in the best way possible. I have answered a few calls in heavily crowded and loud areas, and I never had any complaints from the person on the other side about my voice being inaudible. The S9 stands out best in all the multimedia aspects. Finally, we are not at the end of the video. We still have a long way to go, but we are almost at the end of the multimedia section. We still have one thing left to discuss, and that's the most likable thing in the S9, the camera. The 12MP rear camera is an absolute beast with no alternate thoughts. While a few group of people consider the variable aperture thing in the S9 to be a marketing gimmick, I find it an useful add-on to the S9 camera. The image captured in Pro mode with manual settings are super crispy, and it also performs good under low lighting conditions. The aperture set to 1.5 under low light significantly improves the quality of the image by increasing the light intake. But as the aperture is wide open, even a slight shake could lead to major motion blurs, so better maintain a steady hand while capturing with the aperture set to 1.5. These are some of the sample shots snapped with the aperture closed and open. The shots in the low light or indoor lighting conditions clearly shows the need for the variable aperture thing. The aperture set to 1.5 helps in letting more light in, but that will not be favorable under all conditions. If you are capturing a subject in broad daylight, then a wide open aperture could lead to overexposed shots, and in those cases you sure need a smaller aperture, and that's why we get an option to widen and shrinken the aperture. The dynamic range is also ultra dope with the S9 camera. Here are some of the sample shots which are taken during noons and during sunsets. The camera captures each and every lighting detail accurately, which makes the resultant snaps sharp and real. The selective focus mode or the portrait mode works good, but it still needs a lot of improvement. Subjects with normal edges are cropped out of the background and sharpened, but subjects with complicated edges are not properly sharpened. In some cases, it also picks up the background as the subject without blurring it out of the picture. Apart from that failure, the camera is all good with no flaws. The rear camera can shoot videos up to 3840x2160, that is UHD resolution, at 60 frames per second. But the thing with UHD 60 FPS is that the video stabilization option will not be available. So to shoot a less shaky stabilized video, you gotta switch to normal UHD mode, which shoots video at 30 FPS instead of 60 FPS. The 8MP front camera is a normal one and it doesn't have the variable aperture thing, but it also does a mind-blowing job with snapping selfies. The selective focus thing is not 100% perfect like the one on the Pixel phones, but still it does its job good up to a certain level. It struggles a lot with highlighting subjects with complicated edges just like the rear one, and also when the lighting is too much, it softens the corner of the subjects. I hope I have covered most of the things about the camera, but that's not all of it. Samsung added two new things to the camera this time. One is the mind-blowing 960 FPS super slow-mo, and the other thing is the AR emoji thing. Let me finish the super slow-mo first. The mode records videos at 960 FPS and can record only a clip for up to 6 seconds long, and not more than that. It freezes a 1.2 second long frame to 6 seconds long, and as the camera captures at high FPS, it needs more lighting, and that too, natural lighting. Even recording at 60 FPS leads to light flickers, so just think about shooting at 960 FPS. It makes it highly impossible to shoot under artificial conditions, so better stick with outdoor slow-mos. The super slow-mo is a creative piece of addition to the S9 camera, and it could be used in a highly creative way to capture a lot of fast-moving things in slow-mo. Well, the next add-on to the camera I was about to mention is the Animoji thing. I mean the AR emoji thing. Apple did the Animoji with the array of IR projectors in the front of the iPhone 10, but Samsung did it just with the front camera. It may be that which makes the whole thing super scary. In some cases, like while wearing specs, the whole emoji doppelganger of mine trembles for no reason. Maybe a software update could fix it. Still, it needs a lot more of improvements to make it likable. Even if the smartphone is an expensive one, it sure does come with a set of negative baggages, and the S9's setback is the battery performance. For a smartphone which has that variable aperture camera, glass breaking stereo speakers, a WQHD plus Super AMOLED display and everything, Samsung decided to go with just a 3000 mAh battery, and that's like a poor choice. The battery drains faster in an unusual way. If the display resolution is set to maximum 1, then the battery wouldn't even last for more than 4 hours. So never ever set the display resolution to maximum and use the S9 for a long time if you care about battery backup, otherwise it's fine. It supports quick charging, and to fill the battery from 10% to 100%, it takes around 2 hours. One solution to save the battery juice is by turning on the stock battery saver and to set the display resolution to the minimum level. This makes the battery last around 40 to 50% longer than usual. The 3000 mAh battery is not enough for a beast like this one, but there is no other option. Done is done, let's forget about the battery and let's move on to the software experience. I switched from a Nexus 6P with like the purest form of Android to the Galaxy S9 with like not stock Android. So let's talk about the software thing now. The S9 holds the latest version of Android, which is as known Android 8.0 Oreo, and being as a Samsung device, the whole software is new to me. A few additional things are cool, like the edge swipe panel, the device maintenance section in settings, and a few other things, but a few things were still harder to find under the settings section. Bixby also seems to be doing better. I don't use smart assistants most of the times, and even if I do, I use Google Assistant, but I tried using Bixby on purpose to test it out, and it is getting better now. It can do a lot of interesting things like modifying your settings with voice, showing latest updates and everything. Samsung is trying to make Bixby better, which is a good thing, but it really overstepped by still having a non-remappable Bixby button, which I accidentally press most of the times while pulling the phone out of my pockets. But Bixby is good. Bixby Vision is also useful for detecting things with your camera. Samsung used all the AR features available in the world with the S9 camera, and Bixby Vision takes it to the next level. It accurately identifies familiar objects and gives information about it. The text recognition and the real-time translation is also a great piece of work with the Bixby Vision. All these features are not entirely new to the world, but It's always bad to have a monopoly, and it's good to see Samsung challenging Google Assistant with Bixby, and I would like to see Bixby getting better day by day. One thing which still is terrorizing the cyber world is none other than security, and to provide the best of it, Samsung comes with 3 biometric security options, and all the 3 works up to the mark. The one which is preferred by a majority of users is the fingerprint protection, and it works fast enough. It works in a flick with no lags. I still want someone to come up with an alternate for capacitive fingerprint scanners, as it is a big down for humans like me with sweaty palms. So if that's the case, then the S9 has 2 other alternate options. The face unlock works super fast under conditions with adequate lighting. Sometimes it fails to identify the face under low lighting conditions or when I make a funny face. Other than that, it is a suitable alternate for the fingerprint lock. The next option available is the iris scanner, and it works even under extreme low light conditions. I found the iris scanner to be a little faulty when I have my specs on, and that was actually mentioned on the warning screen while setting up the iris for the first time. So if you wear your specs frequently, then it's better to stick with face unlock. The third biometric security option available is the intelligent scan option, which is a combination of face unlock and iris scanning. The face unlock will not work properly under low light conditions, and in that case you can switch to intelligent scan mode, which automatically switches from face unlock to iris scanning if the light intake is low. In that way you can unlock the S9 just by looking at it even in dark conditions. Now I think we are officially at the end of the video. I've covered all the good things about the S9, all the bad things about the S9, and all the evil things like the AI emoji. And now we are at the conclusion stage. So there are 2 questions which need to be answered now. The first one is whether the Galaxy S9 is a good device or not, and the next one is if you already own a Galaxy S8 and if you're planning to upgrade it with the S9, then whether it's a worthy upgrade or not. Well, let me answer the first question first. Well, the Galaxy S9 is a good smartphone. It does come with a few set of drawbacks like poor battery performance, the creepy air emoji which still needs a lot of tinkering, and those super slippery edges, but those minor setbacks doesn't make the Galaxy S9 a bad pick. It still is a good smartphone. When it comes to expensive flagships, it's like a single way decision. If you're in for the Galaxy S9, then you gotta get the Galaxy S9. It's unique and no other smartphones can fill its shoes. So if you're in for it, then you gotta get it. So moving on to the next question, if you already own a Galaxy S8, is it a good option to upgrade the S8 with the S9? Well, the S8, the S9, both the things are not entirely different. If you want to upgrade your device, then I would recommend you to wait for another year to see what Samsung is gonna do with the S10. If you are still eager and psyched to get the S9, then sell your S8 and get the S9. So I think that wraps up everything, all the mysteries in your mind, all the clouds in your mind, and that's the complete review video of the Galaxy S9. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. If you want to see or experience more videos from this channel, then subscribe and stay subscribed. Hereafter, I'm going to keep the content flowing, so if you're interested, then don't forget to smash that little bell icon to get notified whenever a new video goes live. As always, thanks for watching. I'll meet you guys and girls in the next one. Till then, it's bye bye from IT Assistors. Bye. That's the end of the video. Go now, go to sleep.